what I specialize in is mood disorders and self-harm behaviors, suicidality and depression and anxiety, but also certified in both cognitive behavior therapy and dialectical behavior therapy. My name is Tiffany Priska, and I own Serenity Wellness and Counseling Center in Cypress, Texas, and I treat teens, young adults, and adults.
And then just for full transparency, there was a bit of time where I was actually your office manager. So we worked
Yes.
together, and I can say from firsthand account that you really take great care of your clients. So
Thank you. I mean, I try to. That's why I do what I do. I believe in it, and I care about the people that I work with, and I'm not trying to just push people through, but I really want people to be heard and to be treated with respect and dignity, and to be, given the opportunity to be able to change the things that they're wanting to change and reach their goals.
on that note about wanting to, help people and stuff, how have you been adapting your business through all of the stay-at-home orders and quarantines and stuff like that?
So, good question. Most of the business that I'm doing right now is teletherapy through telehealth platforms, because it was already HIPAA approved platform that was available and that we used. But of course, Governor Abbott was like, hey, we're lifting all restrictions right now. And rightfully so, because I really just think he understands the importance of mental health. And I feel like that's happened more and more, right? People are understanding mental health is not a separate segment of something in like the oblivion, but like it is actually something that matters. When we don't feel, like we're emotionally well, or we're threatened with something like the coronavirus or just life stressors or whatever in general, right? We need to be able to have those things rectified and to be able to have the tools to do better in our life, just like we do for mental health. For our physical health. Like physical health and mental health are really very intertwined. And I think that is becoming to be more apparent to everybody. So we are using some other platforms as well, just because he's allowed that. So I have teenagers, and some of my teenagers are like, can you just FaceTime me right now? Yes, we can, because Governor Abbott's allowed it. After Corona and things settle down, we will just do telehealth through therapy appointment. Really trying to stick more to those that are HIPAA approved, just for the confidentiality and protection of my clients.
And that makes perfect sense.
Because they are considering mental health an essential right now. I actually am still going into the office. I've tried to kind of put all of my more critical and significant cases, still needing really to be pretty consistent in our, continuity of care. I do still go in and see those people. And so, of course, we have all of these procedures in place. People cannot, unfortunately, wait in the waiting area right now. Everybody has to wait in their car. And I touch all of the doors, and I Lysol and wipe everything down after each client. So really just trying to be cognizant of, all of those things to keep everybody safe.
A lot of people right now are looking into therapy, sometimes for the first time, just because these are a lot of stressors that a lot of people don't know how to cope with. What's the difference in the type of care you get between doing teletherapy session versus being there sitting across from you in person?
Oh, that's a good question. In general, I think there isn't a lot of difference in that you're still getting good care, right? Like you're still getting the same theoretical orientations. I think for me, because I also incorporate a lot of art or activities that I do with my people, I can't Zoom that into your house, So what I have done is sent them things prior to, or said, we made a plan for like, okay, so we're going to get these things so that then we can do that together. For example, some of the things we've been doing are some emotion boards, where we're really trying to target what emotions create different feelings for us so that we know what our triggers are. And then we create a trigger board or like a stressor board. And a lot of times that visual kinesthetic piece of like, I'm creating this, and it helps you to pull that into your frontal lobe, that executive functioning part where you can process and problem solve. And so because I can't physically provide those things, I do try to kind of make those plans so that we can still do some of those same activities. They can still have the end product, the finished product to use, whether it's a coping skills, their own personal coping skills board, or, triggers or whatnot. Then I also have been sending a lot of information. And, from being our front office manager before, I like to use articles and I like to give people information. So I'm sending it, I'm emailing it, we can discuss it, and have some feedback on that. So I'm doing a little bit more, I guess, maybe in the front end of prep to prepare for each session versus I just already have it in my office and I'm giving it to them.
That makes sense. I was actually kind of wondering about that too, just because I know how kinesthetic your sessions can be. So were there any other challenges and how you've been working to overcome them that you wanted to mention?
So, technology is great, but also it's not great sometimes. And so sometimes it's frustrating when we're trying to connect over, one of the platforms that somebody hasn't used yet. Typically, once they've used it and they figure out how to get into the system and how to jump on the call and things like that, it's fine. But, initially that can be frustrating because, if you're already anxious, right? And then you feel like, oh God, I can't get into my therapy session. That doesn't make you feel good. So I kind of try to make sure if I need to walk them through it. I've even called some people and said, okay, you pull it up. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to walk you through step by step. And, oh, there you are. We've connected. Great. This is how you're going to do it when we meet next week, and kind of make that just part of that continuity of care as we transition over to those platforms. Because that can be challenging, of course, right?
Yes, it can. And it can be frustrating. And I can only imagine that if someone comes in already with those heightened emotions, it can make the session not be as productive as I know you would hope it would be.
70% of communication is nonverbal. So it might be a tone, it might be a body, movement or whatever, which is why I like to see some of my more critical people in person still, if they feel comfortable. I don't require for anyone to come in, but if they feel comfortable, and to be honest, most of them want to come in because they will sometimes do things that if I can only see neck up, I don't see that's happening all the time. Sometimes I can see it in their face, but I don't always see it happening. Or I've got somebody that's I call it a tapper. He'll start tapping or pulling, at pieces of his clothing when his anxiety gets higher. And those are things that normally when I'm in front of someone in a session, I can say, hey, I noticed when I asked you that, or when we started talking about this particular thing, then you started, pulling on your shorts. What's going on? What are you thinking? What's your heart doing? What's your breathing doing? And we can really pull those mindfulness pieces in, which becomes more difficult just over a virtual session. You don't always get all of those pieces.
Yeah. Kind of on the note of anxiety and calming down, a lot of people are dealing with a lot of anxiety right now over not just the fear of getting sick or loved ones getting sick, but financial situations, losing their jobs, just various uncertainties. A lot of times when people are stressed, loved ones will say, just breathe, just take a deep breath. And I feel like at this point, a lot of people are kind of tuning that out. It feels like white noise because we hear it so often. What would be something you would recommend to tell people who are being anxious, other than just breathe?
So we need distractions, healthy distractions. If you don't have hobbies or you don't have things that are your fallback, then I recommend Google, coping skills. There is it's a list of 99 coping skills, and some of them are pretty specific. Some of them are more generic, but I like using that because then I can go through with my clients and they can actually highlight or star or whatever, those that seem more that resonate with them, that seem more like this is something that I would do. Or sometimes we forget until we see it, and then we're like, oh, I do really like bubble baths. And hey, I'm in quarantine, but I can bubble bath. For me, people like you, were very creative. So having that creative outlet is also something that we can do. Yeah, simple things like, hey, you know what, today I am going to try a new recipe. You know, I'm gonna Google like some new crochet something that I've been thinking about doing, or yeah, I like to make bracelets. You know, I'm gonna make some bracelets. I'm gonna, try some new, trend that I haven't ever done. Reaching out to a friend just to check on them. People are not going to be weird about that right now. Like I've had people like, oh God, are they going to be weird though? Is it like weird that I haven't talked to them in a year? No, dude, because it's coronavirus right now. So it's like all bets are off. So if you're thinking about somebody and you're like, hey, you were on my mind, just wanted to touch base and see how you were doing through this Rona thing, like all of those types of things. And, breathe while you're doing it, sure. But also having a plan, having a goal, and then this is really simple, but having a routine. Our brain is wired to work on a routine. And for a lot of us that are in quarantine, or even when you're working from home, I saw a meme that was like, I slept in, so I was late getting into the living room. Like, because you don't have to sit in traffic and all of that stuff, but still have a routine, still have I'm going to get up at this time and I'm going to have my coffee and start my day. The other great thing that you can do is get into something that you've wanted to always do and just never had the time to do, because we have a lot of time now. And one of the last things that I think is really important too is gathering our blessings. Like, recognize all of the things that are good, that are positive, that are going on in your life. Because guys, not everything is negative. Like, it seems that way sometimes because it feels that way. Feelings are compelling, right? Mm-hmm. But they're not always factual. Maybe it's a blessing that you don't have to sit in an hour traffic every day. Maybe it's a blessing that you get more time with your kids, or you get to walk your dogs, or you got to plant that garden in the backyard that you always thought you'd get to one day. Like, there are also good things happening.
That's a really good point to make. I appreciate you pointing that out. So instead of telling someone to just breathe, ask, hey, do you have something you can distract yourself with?
100%.
So just to kind of wrap up, my last question is, if you could tell everybody something or a piece of advice, or make a request of something they would do for themselves, what would that be?
Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. You know yourself better than anyone else, and it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to grieve during this time. It's okay to feel however you feel. So listen to that and allow yourself to do that. And if you feel like it's too much for me, then be brave and take a step and reach out for help. That is not a weakness. That is the best way you can love yourself, and it's the best way you can love others. Because if you aren't taking care of you, you can't be there for anyone else, and you're not loving yourself to the best of your ability. So be nice to yourself, be kind, do the thing that you need, recognize what it is, and then take a step toward that.
All of those resources you just mentioned and stuff, I will have linked down below. So if you want to check them out and click on them, they're Tiffany approved.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today and give some advice just for the general internet. I hope a lot of people are able to use this and take better care of themselves mentally during this.
Absolutely. And you know what? Like, I'll send it to you. Like, we're in this together. So let's do it.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Tilley. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.